going on, guys? It's your boy the Markham Knight here. Today's video is going to be all about Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is part 3 of 7 of my breakdown, and this is going to focus on Chapter 3, Beloved Mother, Beloved Son. So let's get right into it. And we start off with the Barry and Iris scene. Now we are introduced to Iris West for the first time, and unlike the TV show, Barry and Iris do not know each other. They just kind of have some passing attraction when they're looking at each other. Barry's applying for a job as a dog walker, and Iris's car she hits a truck because the truck drove through the red light because the truck driver was looking for a sandwich. And it was kind of stupid that he was looking for a sandwich for about 30 seconds. He must be the most reckless truck driver ever. But she goes flying out of the car, and Barry bursts into super speed, bursts out of his shoes, bursts through the glass wall, and then basically goes and grabs her, saves her, and then gets back inside. So it was a pretty cool scene overall. The next thing we get to see is the parademons start yanking Atlanteans out of the water, out of the ocean. They pull them out and they drop them onto a beach, and then Steppenwolf grabs them and tries to interrogate them to find the next mother box. And then he grabs this one specific one, and he says, "We're never going to betray our thing." And then this cool spider thing comes out of Steppenwolf's armor, and it sits on top of the Atlantean's head, and it gives the information of what's inside of his head to Steppenwolf. So Steppenwolf now finds where the location of the other mother box is. So it's pretty cool. And then he kind of knocks him out. And then the next thing that we get to see is Wonder Woman and Batman are in the Batcave, and there's a little bit of a conversation between them, and obviously they're trying to recruit the rest of the league, and they have some funny moments, a little back and forth, and then there's a little bit of an awkward moment where they both touch the mouse at the same time. That's kind of a natural way of trying to create chemistry, and they didn't lean too much into it. It was just kind of like one moment and they moved on, and I really like that about it. Then we get to see Cyborg discover his powers. His dad left him that tape, and on that tape, he's basically described all sorts of stuff that the Cyborg can do. Cyborg learns to fly, he learns to control all sorts of technology, he can like control nukes, he can do pretty much anything technological. He can control the power grid if he wants to. He's basically a technological god, and he starts discovering these powers more and more. And then he sees this waitress, and this waitress who's really struggling in her life, doesn't have any money, has been evicted from her home, and she's struggling to make ends meet. And then he gives her $100,000. Now, technically, she's robbing the bank for $100,000, but it was really cool and nice scene because we've only seen Cyborg as like this emo kid this whole time. So this is the first scene where we get to really delve into his personality and gave him some character development. So I really like that. Then we see the Flash meet his dad in prison, and we learn that Barry Allen's trying to get a criminal justice degree to get his dad out of prison. His dad was sent to prison wrongfully for killing his mom. Obviously, we know that's Reverse Flash. That wasn't his dad doing it, so he's trying to get his dad out of there. Then the next thing we get to see is once Barry goes home, his Bruce Wayne is sitting in his little lair thing that he's created, and they kind of have a conversation. Bruce tries to recruit him, and Flash is all in because he doesn't have any friends, which is kind of sad, but it's set up some funny moments for Barry to kind of do his thing. And he did mention something that's of significance here. He said he knew sign language, but then he emphasized Gorilla Sign Language. That's a nod to Gorilla Grodd, and I do feel like he might be in the Flash movie, or he might not, or at least they might mention him in passing, or in future Flash movies, if they do Flash 2 or 3 or whatever, but that is definitely a nod to Gorilla Grodd. Next thing we get to see is that Cyborg wants to meet Wonder Woman. He sets up a meeting with her, and she basically tries to recruit him, and he's not really interested. This is the first F-bomb we get in the movie. She says, "The world needs you," and he says, "Fuck the world." And that makes sense because obviously he's gone through a lot of shit. He's lost his mom, and he's dealing with being a cyborg now. And then we get to see Cyborg go and bury the mother box that he has in his own grave, which was kind of a weird, morbid moment, but it was cool. He buries the mother box in his own grave, and while he's doing this, his dad gets abducted from their apartment. And the GCPD talks about it, and they think that this is actually Batman because the sketch that they got from the person who was abducted from Star Labs, he saw a parademon and he created a sketch, and the sketch kind of looked like Batman, and people called it a vampire, and people said it looked like a bat, so they think it's Batman. So Commissioner Gordon says that he's going to set up a meeting with Batman and figure this out, to figure out if that's actually what's going on. And then the next thing that we get to see is probably another one of the great scenes in this movie. It's the Atlantis versus Steppenwolf scene. And it is awesome, and Mira is awesome. We get to see everybody throw down with Steppenwolf, and Steppenwolf is dealing with everyone easily, but then once he gets to Mira, Mira kind of opens up a air bubble, and he's choking her against the wall, and he says, "You can't escape." And she says, "Oh, I'm not trying to escape." And then she puts her hand up, and she starts sucking the water out of Steppenwolf's body. And you can see it starts off as water, and then eventually she starts sucking blood, taking blood outside of Steppenwolf. She's using her aqua telekinesis to pull blood from his body, because blood does have some water remnants in it. So she's pulling all that out of his body, and he just chucks her, and obviously it did phase him a little, and then he goes to kill her, and Aquaman comes in, and he saves the day. And then they kind of throw down for a bit. Obviously Steppenwolf gets the better of him, and gets the mother box, and leaves. Now, this is pretty cool, but there was a little bit of another contradiction here with the Aquaman movie and this movie. Because in the first part, we did see Aquaman go visit King Atlan's throne. That's a contradiction from the Aquaman movie, because we saw King Atlan's throne isn't just out in the open where you could go there. In the Aquaman movie, they had to go through the trench thing and everything, and then he saw where his mom's little island was, and then he went to go to the throne, and at that throne was also that giant monster thing. So obviously, that was a little different. And then here we get our second contradiction from the Aquaman movie, because Mira says both her parents had died and then Queen Atlanna took her in. So obviously we know that Mira's dad is not dead. In the Aquaman movie, he's the king of Xebel, so it doesn't really make sense that those two things don't really work out. But again, no one's really looking at the continuity here, because Zack Snyder said his is more of a trilogy between Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Justice League. So yeah, like I said, it's just for people who are saying restore the Snyderverse, there would have to be either some explaining done, or you gotta just pretend like this kind of stuff didn't even happen. And then the final thing we have for this part is that Steppenwolf speaks to Desaad, and he sets the force field up. Now that he has the two mother boxes, the force field is up, and Desaad says, "Get the last one and kill this world for Darkseid." And this is the first mention we get of Steppenwolf saying for Darkseid, and it's pretty cool. Alright guys, so that is part 3. Again, if you've watched the movie, tell me what you think. And otherwise, if you just listened to this and you got my breakdown, tell me if I missed anything. Let me know.